I'm looking at a rather interesting archive. It seems to relate to the Beatles in Melbourne in 1964. Now, what's your involvement with this collection?
Well, I am Australian, and my father was Lord Mayor of Melbourne in 1964, at a time when the town hall was a very sober place, normally for dignitaries from overseas, but my father was very taken with this young group of musicians, the Beatles, and decided he'd give them a reception. And as you can see from this invitation that he issued, it was to meet Mr. John Lennon, Mr. Paul McCartney, Mr. George Harrison, and Mr. Ringo Starr. Well, everybody was full of enthusiasm. For the morning, I was given John Lennon to look after, and he was wearing a leather jacket. And I'd never touched a man in a leather jacket before, so I had my arm through his for the morning, walking around introducing him to everybody. My sister had Paul McCartney, because she'd been out with him the night before for a cup of coffee, and he'd held her hand, and Paul said to her, "Tomorrow morning we've got to go and meet some old codger at the town hall." And my sister said, "Well, I'd like you to know that's my father." So it was a really extraordinary experience, and after it was over, we walked outside and saw the crowds. We were on the balcony, like the Queen is, and we saw hundreds of thousands of people lined up outside. So that's how it came about.
That is the most remarkable story. Well, look, the first thing I have to say is, look, we've got all these photographs here. Which one's you?
Oh, I have to say there were hair pieces around in those days, and that's what that is.
That is such a smart output, isn't it?
Yes.
So how old were you there, may I ask?
I was 23, and I was given John because he was married and I was married, and the rest of my family weren't, and neither were the rest of the Beatles.
Okay, so it was felt that the two marrieds could look after each other, and Paul was fair game for all the other sisters.
Exactly.
So this is what you said. You all went out onto the town hall balcony.
Yeah.
Oh, is that you there?
Yes.
That looks like you, yes.
And I forgot to say that my father gave the Beatles, had for them upstairs where we were playing the music, boomerangs and a didgeridoo to give them. And so that's what that's all about.
Well, now this is the main event, of course, the signed invitation, signed beautifully by all four Beatles, very clearly. These are good things. They are good things here. They're even better perhaps in Australia, but there is certainly a worldwide interest in them. When we come to value, we're certainly talking between £5,000 and £8,000. What's that in dollars? Dollars about 2 to the pound now, so that's about 10 to 15,000 Australian dollars. Brilliant object.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for having me on this show all the way from Australia.
It's great. It's been lovely to hear your experiences. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Hilary. Thank you.